Hey world. Alright, so specifically a message about the Fireside Festival that's coming up. I'm shooting this, it's a really unique little piece, so stay with me. I'm shooting this from the tail end. There's 8 people in front of me, and I'll probably catch up with them now and then. I've just sort of dropped back a little. Shooting this from the end of our 10-day, this is day 10, coming out of the Tarkine. So we've been making a documentary stitched around the theme of legacy. What is our legacy? Both in the positive form and in the negative, but legacy is legacy. So what is it? And one of the journeys on, one of the missions here is to stay on track. So what do we leave behind? So we're out here, we're shooting this doco, and right at the end, this is the final day we're walking out. It's a 6-hour walk. And so I've got this mob of 8 people in front of me. And it's been absolutely beautiful. And I felt like it was a perfect time to have a chat about the Fireside Festival coming up, and sort of give you guys a little bit of insight into the inner machinations of that festival and motivations for it. Kind of from the heart of what's so sacred to me, which is this place. And part of my legacy is the legacy of this place. Remarkably spectacular, beautiful virgin forest called the Takayna. 24 years now I've been walking through here. Yeah, never ceases to amaze me the impact that this place has on a group of people, and that's the reason that we're making this documentary. It's really oriented all around that. The impact of wild nature on humanity. I want to talk about the Fireside Festival. So you're invited. Come to the Fireside Festival starting on the 29th of March. And it's financially designed to be affordable for families, anyone really. So I think it's $275 for the few days with lunch and dinner included in that, so it's cheap. And our mission with that festival is to bring your fireside ash. Bring your fireside ash, and we're bringing ours, and including the ash from our journey out here, and ash from the Tarkine coast, ash from the Fireside property where I live, and the combination of all of our ash, metaphorically when combined, comes together and forges almost like an alchemy in homeopathic terms of sanctuary and the welcoming of diversity. Just like this place. If we have a look around, the thing that's so profoundly impacting about a place like this is that it's alive with diversity. The kind of pop culture of PC, cancel culture. A lot of people use this sort of terminology of woke. I don't like putting anyone into a box, but loosely using this language, very loosely, is really oriented around ideological righteousness and the quick weaponization of language to stifle diverse conversation. I think it's a terrible idea. I think diversity is our strength. There's a paradox in that for the progressive left. If it's been quite a surprise for me, the journey as someone who's really grown up and on this island and born of the progressive left, to come to a realization that the progressive left, I'm using really loose language here because I don't have the time to go into lots of detail, but has become quite authoritarian, hasn't it? It's become quite tyrannical. It was fascinating for me during the COVID era how that happened. It's like, wow, there's a percentage of my left progressive mates that are now advocating for censorship and cancelling alternative viewpoints, and I find that a really frightening precedent. It's a very complex topic and one that's much better served with lots of nuance. I don't like using these kind of this language because, you know, I'm not entrenched in a position. I'm politically non-binary, let's say. Just a human with values and principles and strengths and weaknesses and things that I'm proud of, things that I'm not proud of. We're all complex. So the loose language that has us pigeonhole each other, I think, is really a slippery slope. But yet we need to use language to try to describe something, so that's quite complex. But the Fireside Festival is all oriented around making space, not war, to come together and celebrate our diversity. But the real question I've got is like, where are we going? What are we doing? There's some big questions to pose to ourselves as individuals and as a culture in terms of our direction forward. And these questions, we really, for me, I just yearn to sit with my community and traverse these complex topics with a lens of nuance and deep respect, and create a container that welcomes this stuff at the table and celebrates the diverse viewpoints, and also looks to creatively troubleshoot and how do we move forward as a culture with a meaningful vision. So basically they're going through this incredibly beautiful horizontal forest at the moment. The thing that I really love about coming together is that we can make space to listen to your vision. What's your vision? Not your vision for you, like a vision board kind of vision, or vision for your own personal life, but what's your vision for life? And sort of our vision with Fireside is that we create a precedent of these fireside conversations, and then we spread this fireside ash around the world, where we then locate fireside properties all around the planet and support and create some training, which is part of the festival, some training, you know, like in terms of space holding, facilitating, creating like a firekeeper training. Simple stuff really, it's stuff that we all know. If you haven't been exposed to leadership stuff, it's just basic stuff. Making space that welcomes, making a container, co-creating a container, you know, so that people feel honoured and respected and welcomed with their viewpoints. No one's talking over top of each other. Just a listening space, really. There's no debate. Fireside's not about debate. It's just about listening. So it's about that, but it's also about training up people to step into that role of emergent leader, like firekeeper, so that on your own property you can hold fireside conversations about anything that's of interest or that's current and topical for you. Heated topics particularly. But not only. We want to build Fireside as a culture that has resilience to be able to tackle this stuff. So we reclaim our sovereignty as a culture and a community, and we tackle these topics at a community grassroots level. Forget about this World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, staff of like, you know, they're wanting this kind of top-down model. I'm not interested in that. Thanks for sharing, guys. You are just, you know, the Klaus Schwabs and the Bill Gates of this world. They're just having a crack. And rather than that, reverting to a new paradigm where localized communities forge around relationship with place, and that our cultures are informed by natural principles rather than subcontracting decision making to bureaucrats and politicians. I just think it's a boring paradigm, really. That's just my thoughts, and your thoughts are going to be super welcome at Fireside. It's not about me, it's about we. So the Fireside Festival is all about this, and the thing that really excites me is you bringing your fireside ash, because I think universally firesides speak of a place of sanctuary, a place where people gather, where conversation, meaningful conversation is had. Let's see if I can get over this without fully toppling. That was good. Where meaningful conversations are had. And then that vision of spreading that ash around the world. So one of the things that really geeks me out is moving away from this platform, Facebook. So we've got a presentation that we're ready for, like we've got a community network platform that we're going to be suggesting that we use as a community. Just checking my direction here. We've got an alternative social media community engine that we want to transition Fireside through to, so we can get away from Facebook, recognizing all of the inherent conflicts of interest of, you know, wanting to maintain a space of diverse conversation and or intellectual diversity and vulnerability, and all of these things are welcome. We really, you know, Facebook is a tool and we'll use it to get away from it. That's the goal. So there'll be a bit of a presentation about that. And at the heart and soul of Fireside is thematically that we see Fireside representing like a hearth for the community, a hearth for a community. If you're someone that sees that nature integrating with culture is really powerful, then Fireside is a place for you. That's the culture that we want. We want to form a community of people who resonate with that as a vision. There's a whistler in the trees. Olive whistler. So yeah, if you resonate with that nature, a vision for a nature-informed culture, what Fireside is a place for us to gather inside that vision. A vision that celebrates the diversity of all of the individuals inside the culture. So basically what we want to do is set up nature culture to be a little bit like, or Fireside to be the hearth of nature culture. And so nature culture will be a little bit like Mind Valley. Just a hub that is there to support an emergent vision for a nature-informed culture. So that, for example, when we depart places like and journeys like this, rather than us attaining spaciousness, life perspective, well-being, and then returning to a world that that isn't about that, returning to a world that struggles for spaciousness, the real art is to design a culture so that on return from these pilgrimages, we can return from these pilgrimages to a culture that affirms them, as opposed to a culture that just is deeply oriented around, you know, doing on the grind, you know, stress. I'm inspired by coming out of a journey like this where all of us are in a place of real reverence of the sacred. This is a sacred experience. You might not understand that yourself, and maybe you do. But in essence, this group of 9 people, are emerging from a 10-day experience that is profoundly sacred. With all of us in the middle have gone solo and experienced ancient life in a deeply reflective way, with great sincerity, reflective sincerity. And the thing that supports this process going forward is, how do we manifest these principles inside of culture? How do we forge a spacious culture? That's where Fireside comes in. Fireside is a space, like a sacred space that we make as a culture. We put a container around our culture and we say, this is a sacred space. You don't come in with disrespectful language. You don't weaponize language here. We have guardianship around this culture. Guardianship. We have boundaries here to ensure that this place is a sacred space. You're welcome to have your viewpoint, no matter what the viewpoint is. It just is required that you come with self-responsibility and a willingness to not abuse people and use language and project your emotions all over other people. And some people can't manage that. And for me, I have compassion with that. It's like that's a hard thing to do for some people because they're in a really tricky situation. But it's just not a... I guess the thing about the nature of a container is that it's ultimately oriented around, you know, a container can only hold so much. It can't hold a whole bunch of humans in energetic projection, in weaponized language. The sacred goes out the door because the sacred, in my language, is no longer present. So the sacred is removed as soon as I start making my life experience about all the problems out there, how everyone else is the problem and I'm the solution. That for me doesn't constitute a sacred space. It constitutes a space of mediocrity, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So there are some considerations for you for this Fireside gathering, Fireside Festival, 3 days in Cygnet. And if you resonate with this as a vision, then share this around. Share it to your friends. Our intention and our mission is for this thing to go around the world. So we'd love your fireside ash. We'd love you to come and tell us what your fireside ash means to you. What does fireside mean to you? How does fireside serve you and the community? Like, I would love so much. It's going to be amazing to see Palestinians and Israelis sitting around fireside just listening. You know, if we can't get to a place of deep listening. I watched a debate recently between like an academic Israeli guy and an academic Palestinian guy, and it was just like, I had compassion for it, but it was just hard to watch. So these guys aren't even listening. They've gone beyond the ability to listen. That's the first step. Can we forge internal space to navigate our own response and hold our own complexity? That's step one. Step two is what do we do from there? Don't know what to do from there. But if we can't get to step one, step two is pretty tricky, isn't it? I don't have the answers for all of that, but I do know that step one's really important. So if you share this vision for firesides, sacred fires being spread all around this planet, and then we can locate where those fires are, and people can travel by each other's sacred fire, travel by that affinity, then that's what this festival's about. We're visioning that, and we want you there. It'll be beautiful. There'll be ceremony, and you'll be invited to bring your unique self to this gathering, this festival. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to sit down as a community, this community of 9 people. It's pretty amazing the kind of intimacy that gets forged on a journey like this. This community of 9 people, we're going to sit down and we're going to say farewell to the place. We're kind of saying that as we walk out now. And have our own fireside to mark the transition from virgin rainforest back into modernity, back into the day-to-day world. An incredibly important transition. How do we integrate this? How do we forge it forward? How do we take these insights and manifest them into our culture? How do we build a nature-informed culture? How do we do it? I've got my part of that. You've got your part of that. How we do it is we pull from the collective intelligence. We make space that harnesses and harvests the collective intelligence. And that's why we're doing this festival. Join us. This farewell from this place, for me, Wish I could just transport all my loved ones here. That means basically everybody. I do love the world, love humanity in all of its complexity. Doesn't mean I necessarily like it, but I love it. Farewell from me. See you at the Fireside Festival, March 29 to 31. Bring your kids, bring your community, share this around. Make space, not war. Yo.